The Virtuous Mission was a turning point for Metal Gear's history. It was during this event that legendary soldier the Boss, alongside her Cobra unit and her new host, Colonel Volgan of Grad, intervened with Sokolov's rescue and stole the treading nuclear behemoth known as the Shagohod. Matters worsened soon after when Volgan launched a nuclear missile on Soviet territory, further raising already high tensions between America and the Soviet Union. These events became the precursor that led to the pivotal Operation Snake Eater, which by its end would become the foundation for the franchise's future conflicts. Welcome to Part 4 of Metal Gear Lore. After the less than stellar results from the Virtuous Mission, America was put under a precarious position. The issue wasn't Sokolov's unsuccessful rescue. That part, unbeknownst to Snake, was planned by the CIA, the US government, and the Boss, who was in reality working as an American spy within Grad. Her mission was to retrieve the philosopher's legacy and destroy the Shagohod. To stay undercover and earn Volgan's trust, she had no choice but to play a part in kidnapping the scientist. The real issue was Volgan's unprecedented launch of one of two Davy Crockett nuclear missiles that the Boss had offered as a gift. This single event changed everything. All evidence pointed to America being the perpetrator. Premier Khrushchev personally called President Lyndon B. Johnson, asking why an American nuclear missile was launched in Soviet territory while an American aircraft was detected in Soviet airspace. President Johnson had no choice but to use the Boss and her planned defection as an excuse for the events that transpired and denied his country's involvement with any of her actions. Even so, due to Premier Khrushchev's diminishing power over the military after the Cuban Missile Crisis, he had no choice but to demand that America prove its innocence to him and the Red Army. To keep the latter from initiating war, America was to send an agent to infiltrate Selino Yark once more and rescue Shagohod's lead scientist Sokolov, terminate the Boss and all involved parties, and destroy the Shagohod. Failure to deliver would risk nothing short of World War III. Khrushchev's demands resulted in the Boss's undercover mission being greatly revised. Initially, the Boss was to return alive after retrieving the legacy, but that all changed when America was given the explicit ultimatum to eliminate the Boss to prove its innocence. With its reputation on the line and war brewing on the horizon, America had no choice but to falsely brand her as a traitor and have her eliminated. America also saw her elimination as a positive outcome, since killing the Boss would tie loose ends, ensure that her defection would never be traced back to the US government, and prevent the Boss's overwhelming charm and influence from thwarting the CIA and the government's corrupt plans. The US wished the Boss dead more than their enemies, and thus the CIA planned Operation Snake Eater, with one of its directors, Hod Coldman, being the mastermind. The mission's true purpose was the retrieval of the philosopher's legacy and the assassination of the Boss by the hands of her own apprentice, the latter which would create the perfect story to prove America's innocence and guarantee a good reputation for the nation. It is even said that Hod Coldman planned as far back as the Virtuous Mission, with one theory being that he purposely provided the Boss with two Davy Crockett's to offer to Volgan to gain his trust, then contacted Volgan and encouraged him to launch one of the missiles on Soviet territory to ensure that the Boss received the blame and remained an enemy of her nation, thereby guaranteeing that her assassination be ordered. The Boss knew that she would be cast aside as an expendable object and die a dishonorable death, but regardless, she would serve her country to the end, sacrificing both her life and honor for her country's reputation and to prevent another world war. Khrushchev's demands also resulted in the prosecution of both Major Zero and Naked Snake, who were branded by US agencies as accomplices to the Boss's defection. But of course, these prosecutions were merely theatrics, simply serving as leverage to ensure that Naked Snake, a vital piece of the operation, participated in the mission. Zero and Snake were given one last chance to save themselves from execution by partaking in Operation Snake Eater. Naked Snake's mission was to infiltrate Selino Yark once more and terminate the Boss, along with all involved parties such as the Cobra unit and Colonel Volgan. Furthermore, Snake was to destroy the Shagohod and rescue Sokolov, but the true purpose of Operation Snake Eater was kept from Snake to ensure he assassinated the boss without hesitation. Snake had no knowledge of the philosopher's legacy, or the fact that the boss had defected under CIA orders. All the heartbroken Snake knew was that his mentor had betrayed all of her ideals, and that he would be the one to kill her. And thus, on August 30th, 1964, 11:30 p.m., Naked Snake was once again deployed to Selino Yark through a D-21 drone launched through an American aircraft. With airspace heavily guarded after the Virtuous Mission, the Fox unit had no choice but to make their approach from the North Pole. Despite a rough landing, Snake successfully infiltrated the area. To aid with the mission, the Soviet Union provided the Fox unit with a communication satellite to allow Snake to stay in touch with a support team, which consisted of Major Zero, paramedic, and tech expert Sigint. Furthermore, the KGB provided 2 Soviet agents, Adam and Eva, 2 NSA codebreakers who defected from America to the Soviet Union on September of 1960. Snake's first task was to meet with Adam in Razvet, where Sokolov was held during the Virtuous Mission. According to Intel, Agent Adam had infiltrated the ranks of the GRU unit to aid Snake in his mission and provide an escape route upon its completion. On his way, Snake was once again confronted by the boss, who quickly overpowered him. She gave Snake one final warning to turn back and head home, then further impeded his progress by dismantling his gun and alerting nearby patrol. Despite her threats, Snake stealthily proceeded to Razvet to meet with Adam, only to find a woman on a motorcycle in his place. She introduced herself as Agent Eva, stating that she was sent by Adam. However, when asked for the passphrase, Eva was unable to provide an answer. It was not until Eva saved Snake from a GRU unit ambush that she gained his trust. Together, they retreated into the nearby factory. To aid Snake with his mission, she provided him with a custom M1911 pistol, returned the MK22 Hush Puppy pistol he had lost, and provided a scientist disguise for research facility infiltrations. She also provided Lookout to allow Snake to rest for the night. Eva proceeded to transmit a message to her Chinese superiors, who had sent her to retrieve the philosopher's legacy. The next day, as Snake and Eva made preparations to depart, GRU Major Ocelot and his troops caught up to them and surrounded the factory. Sneaking past them was not an option, forcing Snake to take them down one by one. In the end, Snake managed to take down the unit, including Ocelot himself, who had momentarily taken Eva as a hostage before being overpowered. Ocelot had no choice but to retreat, and Eva, who had also infiltrated the ranks of GRU as Sokolov's lover, Tatiana, was forced to return to base before Ocelot or risk compromising her cover. But before leaving, she told Snake to head to a lab within an area called Granin's Mountain. The two then went their separate ways. As Snake headed towards the lab, he encountered a number of formidable foes, the first of which was the young and proud Ocelot, who offered Snake a one-on-one duel. The duel was soon interrupted by the paying swarm of hornets, which forced Snake to jump into a precipice leading into a dark and maze-like cavern. Snake ventured into the depths of the cavern and eventually found the exit, only to stumble upon Cobra unit member The Pain. After an intense battle, Snake eventually defeated The Pain and proceeded to his destination. Along the way, he came across a warehouse in which Colonel Volgan, the boss, her Cobra unit, Sokolov, and Tatiana resided. Sokolov intended to refuse to continue work on the Shagohod, but Volgan threatened him by torturing Tatiana. The boss also shared the news that The Pain had been defeated, forcing them to dispatch another member, the Fear. Eventually, the group dispersed, giving Snake a clear path towards the lab within Granin's Mountain. Snake easily infiltrated the lab using the disguise that Eva had provided him, but instead of finding Sokolov, he found a drunk and bitter Dr. Alexander Leonovich Granin, the man who coined the term Metal Gear, and the man whose research would lead to the development of the nuclear bipedal tanks that would become the hallmark of the franchise. Unfortunately for him, at the time, his Metal Gear research was rejected in favor of Sokolov's Shagohod. To get back at Volgan and Sokolov, Granin provided Snake with valuable information. After talking about his rejected bipedal tank project, he gave Snake information about the source of Volgan's wealth. It was then that Snake heard for the first time about the Philosopher's Legacy, a pool of money amassed by the three superpowers during World War II, stolen after the war by Volgan's father. Granin also told Snake that using the mass pool of money, Volgan had constructed a fortress in the mountains known as Groznyj, in hopes that Snake would take Sokolov back to America and clear the path for Granin's research to be recognized. He provided Snake with the location of a secret underground tunnel that would lead straight into the heart of Groznyj, along with a keycard that would allow Snake to infiltrate the fortress. Thus, Snake made his way to Groznyj, but along the way he would encounter two other members of the Cobra unit. Snake first encountered the Fear, who utilized poison, an experimental stealth suit, and superhuman powers to his advantage, but in the end, after a tough battle, Snake emerged victorious. Then, as Snake made his way into the mountains, he encountered the End, engaging in a long and arduous sniper duel. Despite the End's experience and ability to photosynthesize, Snake eventually defeated the father of modern sniping. Following the End's death, Snake made his way to the top of the mountains and rendezvoused with Eva, who provided Snake with a key to access the underground tunnel, along with information on Sokolov's specific location within Groznyj. After providing Snake with everything he needed, Eva returned to Groznyj to keep her cover intact. Snake stayed a while longer to do some reconnaissance, which is when he witnessed the torture and murder of Granin, who Volgan suspected to be a spy after discovering a transmitter inside his shoe, which unbeknownst to him was planted by Eva to detract attention from her undercover status. After witnessing these events, Snake headed underground, during which he faced the final living member of the Cobra units, the Fury. After a furious battle, Snake eventually defeated him and made his way up the ladder that would lead him to the heart of Groznyj. To make infiltration easier, he located Major Rykov and neutralized him, using his outfit and the Rykov mask given to him at the beginning of the mission as a disguise. Snake eventually found Sokolov, who was initially preoccupied with a conversation with Eva, still dressed as Tatiana. The conversation ended after Sokolov gave her a mysterious data film. After she made her way out, Snake made contact with Sokolov, the latter who explained the Shagohod's ability to launch nuclear weapons on US soil from anywhere within the Soviet Union. He also revealed Volgan's plan to mass-produce the weapon and distribute them to countries in the Eastern Bloc. To prevent this from happening, Sokolov suggested that the best way to destroy the Shagohod prototype was to blow up the hangar in which it resides by using C3 explosives. When Snake inquired about finding C3, Sokolov stated that Tatiana had taken the rest of it. Sokolov also revealed that Tatiana, to his knowledge, was a spy sent by Premier Khrushchev a few weeks ago, a few days before the Virtuous Mission. After a long conversation, as Snake proceeded to escort Sokolov out of the base, Volgan entered the room without warning and easily saw through Snake's disguise. But before Volgan could make a move, Snake managed to take him down until the boss stepped in and neutralized Snake. Volgan, after asking the boss to leave, brutally beat Snake and knocked him unconscious as payback for what he did to Major Rykov, who was also Volgan's lover. When Snake woke up, he was hanging by the wrists with a bag over his head, ready for torture. Under the bag, Snake could hear Volgan beating Sokolov, the latter who was assumed to be dead. After disposing of Sokolov, Volgan proceeded by torturing Snake, demanding to know what the CIA knew and whether he was after the Philosopher's Legacy. In his fury and impatience, he also revealed the location of the legacy in the process for both Eva and the boss to hear. The torture only stopped momentarily when a transmitter fell out of Snake's pocket in the process. When Volgan demanded to know who had planted it, the boss stepped in, stating that she had planted it on Snake to make sure that the Cobra unit could track him. Volgan suspected her reasoning, however, stating that the Cobra unit would not have been killed had they been able to keep track of Snake's movements. To prove her loyalty, Volgan demanded that the boss cut out one of his eyes. Just as she was about to, Tatiana intervened, stating that Snake had suffered enough. Her actions drew Ocelot's suspicion, who also realized that Tatiana's perfume seemed familiar from a previous encounter, leading him to interrogate her by juggling 3 guns in a Russian roulette-style game. To defend her, Snake flung his body onto Ocelot's, causing the bullet to go off into Snake's right eye, marking the beginning of one of Naked Snake's most defining features, the eye patch. Having had enough, Volgin left, leaving 3 undercover agents, the boss, Eva, and still unbeknownst to most, Agent Adam to watch out for Snake. Adam proceeded by re-implanting the transmitter that Volgin had discovered inside a wound on Snake's back, while finally expressing his admiration for the art of torture, a field in which he would excel in his later years as a cause of this experience. After he left, the boss would use one of his revolvers to shoot a fake death pill inside Snake's leg to aid in his escape. Once Eva remained, she provided Snake with the location of an escape route should he be able to break out of his holding cell. Soon after, Snake would be taken to his holding cell, which would be guarded by Johnny. During a conversation with Snake, he revealed that his son was also named Johnny, a name that all firstborns in his family line received. Coincidentally, Johnny's grandson, Johnny Sasaki, or Akiba, would encounter Naked Snake's son, Solid Snake, in a similar fashion during the Shadow Moses incident. He would also play a major role in the events of Liquid Ocelot's insurrection. After the conversation concluded, Snake improvised and eventually managed to escape. Unfortunately, he learned that Eva's escape route had been locked down, forcing him to make his way out through the underground sewer system. Unfortunately, Ocelot and his men caught up to him eventually, trapping him at the edge of a precipice. Snake had no choice but to jump into the river below, which would result in a near-death experience during which he would meet the Sorrow, a diseased member of the Cobra unit, the boss's lover, and Ocelot's father. The Sorrow tormented Snake with the souls of all those he had killed during the mission, which would finally come to an end after Snake used the revival pill embedded into one of his tooth. After waking up, Snake made contact and met with Eva, who would provide Snake with an eye patch, another route into Groznyj Grad, and enough C3 to destroy the hangar in which the Shagohod prototype resided. Then, after resting, Snake once again infiltrated Groznyj Grad, this time successfully sneaking into the hangar, planting the C3, and setting the timer. But as he made his way out, Volgin and Ocelot would confront him, who had finally discovered that Tatiana had been a spy all along after she was caught attempting to steal the microfilm that housed all the data of the Philosopher's legacy. Making matters worse, the boss once again overpowered Snake, leaving him defenseless. During his time, Volgin explained to Snake the history of the Philosopher's legacy, how he turned to Sokolov as a result of Granin's failure to produce results with his Metal Gear project, and how he used the Philosopher's spy network to contact the boss and offer her to defect. He also revealed that his ultimate goal was to use the legacy and the Shagohod to unify the world, which had been torn apart as a result of the conflict between the philosophers. After a long exposition, Volgin handed the legacy to the boss, asking her to take good care of it. Soon after, the boss left along with Eva, and then Volgin challenged Snake to a one-on-one battle, which would end with Snake's victory. But by then, the C3 timer was dangerously close to expiring, forcing Snake to leave Volgin behind and make a rapid escape. Outside of the facility, Snake would find Eva waiting on her motorcycle to help Snake get to the extraction plane. She would also tell him that the boss would be waiting for him nearby. But matters complicated when the Shagohod burst out of the hangar controlled by Volgin, setting the scene for an intense escape. Ocelot would also make pursuit, who would ironically be rescued from falling debris by Naked Snake. After a long and arduous escape, Snake and Eva finally came face to face against Volgin and the Shagohod, culminating into Snake's most intense battle yet. Eventually, Snake managed to tear through the Shagohod and finish Volgin off for good. But the duo's troubles wouldn't end there, as Volgin's loyal Gru soldiers continued to make pursuit. After another intense chase, despite a rough landing that would leave them gravely injured, Snake and Eva managed to escape. After patching their injuries, the two made their way to the extraction plane that Eva had set up. It resided near a field of white flowers in which Snake knew the boss would reside. As Snake made his way to the field, a large nuclear explosion would emanate from the distance, which would mark the destruction of Groznyj Grad and its nearby research facilities. When Snake turned to see the source of the explosion, there stood the boss, holding a Davy Crockett missile launcher. And thus, mentor and apprentice met face to face for one last final encounter. The boss began by expressing a desire similar to Volgin's, to mend the wounds that the philosophers' post-World War II conflicts created, and to make the world whole again using the legacy, though through vastly different and better means. She desired a world in which there was no east or west, no Cold War, and no communism and capitalism. She also spoke of her past, talking about how her father was one of the founders of the philosophers, and how he was assassinated after revealing to her at a young age secrets of their corruption. According to her, the current philosophers have no sense of good and evil, with their ultimate goal being to continue an endless cycle of wars and conflicts to suit their needs. She also spoke about the many times her country had betrayed her, talking about her exposure to radiation on November 1st, 1951, when she participated in Operation Buster Jangle, how her exposure to radiation caused her to be chosen as America's guinea pig for the space race in 1960, her involvement in 1961's Bahia de Cochinos, during which she witnessed America abandon Cuban exiles to be annihilated by the Cuban army, the mission given to her to assassinate her lover, the Sorrow, and how in 1944, during the landing at Normandy, she had given birth to a boy via C-section who was snatched away moments later by the philosophers. She expressed that despite all this, she as a soldier was loyal to her mission, asking her apprentice if he could do the same. Throughout this exposition, the boss spoke vaguely about her past, but many details were left out. These details would come to light a decade later through an audio message that Eva would send Snake during the Peace Walker incident, explaining the boss's tragic life as a soldier and her unwavering loyalty to her country. The conversation eventually concluded, and the boss challenged Snake to one last battle, in which one would live while the other survive. After an epic battle, Snake was the one to seize victory. After sharing one last moment, and after the boss handed the legacy microfilm to Snake, after a long moment of hesitation and delay, Snake would use the boss's weapon, the Patriot, to end her life, completing his mission. Snake and Eva made their way out via the extraction plane, only to have Ocelot make one final pursuit. After having managed to enter the plane, he challenged Snake to one final duel. After a closely matched physical encounter, with Ocelot having picked up some CQC techniques merely by watching, Ocelot offered a gun duel, pulling out and juggling two revolvers with one containing the bullet. Before Snake picked his weapon, Ocelot demanded to know Snake's real name, stating that his was Adamska. Naked Snake replied that his real name was John. It is assumed by many fans that the name John is actually a lie due to the sarcastic nature of Snake's earlier conversation with Paramedic. However, sources such as Metal Gear Solid 4 Database, an interview with Kojima in Kojima Productions Report podcast, and others have confirmed that Naked Snake's real name is indeed John, with Jack being its diminutive form. After revealing his real name, Snake picked a revolver, the two drew their weapons and shot, with the duel resolving in neither getting harmed as the bullet had been a blank all along. Adamska, satisfied with the outcome, let the duo escape. Snake and Eva fled to a safe house in Alaska, during which they happily conversed and shared a passionate night. But the next day, Snake would wake up to find Eva gone and an audio message in her place. Snake played the message, which revealed Eva's true nature as a Chinese spy. She spoke of her mission to retrieve the philosopher's legacy for the Chinese government and philosophers, who, like America and the Soviet Union, had their eyes on the mass pool of money. She had also obtained the film containing the Shagohod's data from Sokolov. Using the legacy and the data, China would finally be able to catch up to the US and the USSR in technological advancement. Infuriated, Snake checked his pockets, fearing the worst, only to find that the legacy given to him by the boss was still in his pocket, indicating that Eva had no knowledge that Snake was in possession of the legacy, and that whatever she stole at an earlier time was a fake. When and how she came to retrieve this fake legacy remains unknown, although it is safe to assume that the boss, who saw through Eva's deception, lent a hand. Relieved that the legacy was still in his possession, Snake continued to listen to Eva's message. She revealed that the two NSA codebreakers who had defected to the Soviet Union, who were to aid in Operation Snake Eater on Khrushchev's behalf, were originally both men. She posed as Agent Eva and waited in Razvet to meet with Snake. Adam never appeared, saving Eva the trouble of eliminating him. Using her training from the philosopher's charm schools, she fooled everyone except for one person, the boss, who had once served as an instructor in these charm schools. During their time together as undercover agents, the two came to grow close, and the boss would confide in Eva some of her history, secrets, and intentions. Eva then explained the true purpose of Operation Snake Eater, and how the boss had served her country, not betrayed it. She began by revealing that the boss's defection was planned by the CIA to retrieve the legacy and destroy the Shagohod, and that originally she was to come home alive. She explained how all that changed when Volgan launched a Davy Crockett missile, causing her mission to be greatly revised, which would result in her sacrifice to prove America's innocence and save its reputation. The boss knew that she'd die a monster and a war criminal, but she wished only for her apprentice to truly know and understand her. Eva was to kill Snake after her mission, but instead kept her promise to the boss to let her legacy live on through Snake's heart. And thus, Snake's mission concluded successfully. President Lyndon B. Johnson granted Snake with the title of Big Boss, as well as the Distinguished Service Cross. Big Boss reluctantly shaked the hand the president offered, and when the CIA director offered the same, devastated by what the agency had done to the boss, Big Boss refused and walked away. Then, a DoD official, inspired by Fox's accomplishments, approached the director, proposing that an infiltration unit like Fox should be established within the army. This unit would come in the form of Foxhound, which would be established by Big Boss and Roy Campbell in 1970 during the San Geronimo takeover, and become part of America's military soon after. After receiving his new title, Snake visited the boss's grave, laying down flowers along with her gun, the Patriot. He then saluted her grave to honor her memory, with tears rolling down from his eye. The boss's patriotism and heroism would endure only in Snake's heart. In another location, during the fallout of Operation Snake Eater, Ocelot would finally make contact with his employers. He first made contact with the KGB, plotting to take over Khrushchev. Ocelot also suggested that the many events from the Virtuous Mission and Operation Snake Eater that America wanted to keep under wraps could be used as leverage for future negotiations. Ocelot proceeded by making a second call, this time to his third employer, the CIA, a conversation that would reveal to players Ocelot's true identity as Agent Adam and a triple agent, working for GRU, the KGB, and the CIA. He confirmed that the legacy Eva had taken was a fake, and that the real legacy is with the CIA thanks to Snake. He also revealed that only half of the legacy made it to America, with the other half assumed to be in the KGB's possession. Ocelot then expressed an interest in attempting to steal it. He also revealed that he had procured Granin's Metal Gear blueprints, which he would use to America's favor when the time arrived. Finally, Ocelot revealed his plans to use the legacy to revive America's faction of the Philosophers. In the years to come, Ocelot's plan would culminate to the creation of the all-powerful organization led by the fearsome Major Zero, known as the Patriots.